Alright, you beautiful peoples of the internet, I'm Glyn and this is Cheapskate Gaming News and Tech Reviews. And this is my Tuesday late weekend news roundup. And first off on the news, we've got a little bit here about how the PlayStation 5 is going to have custom profiles, basically custom profiles to control the fan. And what's basically going to happen is there's going to be a feedback loop between your PlayStation 5 and Sony, and it's going to basically send the information of how fast your fan is going, how hot your temperatures of your APU, of your basically internal PlayStation workings, how hot they're getting, and then Sony can sort of send your PlayStation then a profile that suits it better than maybe the one that it's running at. So if it's running a bit hot and the fan's a bit slow, speed the fan up, it runs a bit cooler. So I think that's a really good little piece of tech, that there's a little feedback loop going on with PlayStation, Sony and the software that you'll be using, and it'll be a title by title basis as well. So sticking with PlayStation 5, it looks like now we're going to get a little bit of an added bonus with our trophies, and this comes as a rewards for trophies. So it looks as though, according to the screenshots, that people have sort of done a little bit of a deep dive into the initial UI or user interface or user experience that they showed off, PlayStation showed off, and it looks like you can earn either background pictures or new avatars and rewards like that. So it'd be interesting to see what they do tie into the trophies for rewards. And again, I'm guessing this will be a game by game basis. You're probably going to expect to see it more in Sony based games or Sony first party games. I don't expect you to see too much of it in maybe your EA games or your Activision games, although starting out they may start using, a bit like when the PS4 released, a lot of the companies did sort of jump on the bandwagon, and then as time went on, after 6 months, a year later, everyone sort of forgot about these extra features that the PS4 had. So it looks like it's going to go the same way with the PS5, but it's always nice to have little rewards, and it gives a little bit more credence to actually earning and gaining trophies. So next up, it looks like that PUBG is going to get a 60 FPS update, so 60 frames a second, and that will only be for the Pro consoles, so PS4 Pro and for Xbox One X. And of course this will probably push on over through to the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. So that's always a welcome sign that PUBG will get a 60 frames a second update, because I've tried it playing PUBG and at 30 FPS, let's face it, it does suck. And if everyone can remember that Fortnite, when Fortnite first released, that had a locked 30 frames a second output on the PS4. Now on the PS5 there was an option to unlock the output and you could get a higher frame rate, but of course now Fortnite is 60 FPS all the way through. So it is nice, but obviously it's taken them a long time considering how long PUBG's been out to get this update out. It should have been sooner rather than later, but it's nice all the less. So there we are, 60 FPS now in your PUBG. And finally for today, we'll go through a little bit about Digital Foundry's overview of the Xbox Series X and its heat output. So they did a sort of overview or a roundup of the heat output of the Series X, and they went into using a FLIR camera, although I'm not particularly keen on using the mobile phone for this FLIR camera that he's used, but again it does show the heat output now all around the sides, and he also looks at the expansion memory card as well, and it tends to hit between 40 and 50 degrees, which is fine, that's no problems at all. But when he goes over the top of the Series X, it does hit 60, he picks up 61, 62 degrees. Now that is getting very hot, and also that's just picking up the heat on the outside. I'd love to know how hot it's actually getting inside, so I don't think it's going to be a real issue. I'm sure Microsoft have done their thermal biometrics or whatever it is they do in these big factories. But looking at the 61, 62 degrees, now they were saying it was only as hot as a PS4 Pro, but I know for a fact PS4 Pro doesn't get to 61, 62 degrees out the back of it. That's more around the 50 degree mark. And also, Digital Foundry have built up their reputation for being people that do very, very good analysis And although I've got nothing against their software analysis a lot of the times, their reviews of games and all that, I really think their hardware analysis does leave a lot to be desired. I mean, take for instance, I don't know if you've ever watched the channel Gamers Nexus, Steve from Gamers Nexus. Now he is meticulous in his hardware reviews regarding how they test the hardware and how they look at things like heat and thermals, to the point where they're even inventing new ways of looking at heat output on CPUs and GPUs. He also does a lot of overclocking and things like that, and I'd rather if Steve from Gamers Nexus would actually take a look at the thermal output on a Series X, but I dare say he never put in to be sent one. He's very much a PC guy. He does a lot of overclocking, and they've got fantastic, if you ever want to look at things like PC cases, power supplies, even fans and motherboards and GPUs and CPUs, they do a full roundup of all that stuff. But it would be nice if they got into and just did a little bit of console analysis. But that's just me thinking outside the box, and I think Steve would do Gamers Nexus would definitely do a better job than Digital Foundry's overview. And also Steve is a type of guy that he can't be bought. He's very rigid like that. He's one of the last few bastions of truth left on YouTube, where what he says is the truth no matter what. And if they ever make a mistake or make a problem, they'll actually do a full 15-minute video on they made a mistake, why they made a mistake, how they made a mistake, how they're going to rectify the mistake, and making sure that they'll never make the same mistake again. Anyway, so that's the review anyway. So the Xbox Series X heat output has kind of been debunked by Digital Foundry, although I'm not so sure looking at what was coming out the top of that thing. It were a bit of a chimney, if you know what I mean. So that about does it for my late weekend review news roundup. You've been watching Glyn, and this has been Cheapskate Gaming News and Tech Reviews, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.